Thank you for listening to Serves You Right. If you are a regular listener, you know that I have stopped doing intros, but I felt like I needed one for this show. Today I'm talking to Agnese, one of the best somms out of Latvia, and for whatever reason, me and her and our recording equipment just would not get along. So one conversation was actually dropped and not recorded. Super heartbreaking because it was a great conversation. Got back into a conversation and then internet failed because there's apparently some giant game going on, and then we started back the conversation in a different kind of more brute force recording studio, and that finally brought us to the finish line. So you will notice there's a abrupt switch in the middle to how things sound, and yeah, she's super cool, so I thought that the conversation was worth putting out there. I just wanted to give you a heads up that right in the middle there's a little rough around the edges part. Now, without any further ado, here's Agnes, and thank you for listening to Serves You Right. No, yeah, it's like this is the last run. For people who are listening, it was a funny set of circumstances involving a phone not being charged and us doing some different audio technical tests that led to us having a full conversation, just not recording it. It was just a pleasant Saturday, so we're going to run it again. So for the people listening, I know a little bit about you now, but tell us a little bit about your beginning and how you got into the world of wine. I think that'd be a cool place to start.
Yeah, so now I feel like I'm repeating myself, but anyway, I actually started to study in university economics, and I wanted to get off my mother's back and earn some money for myself. And I started to work as a waitress in one of the local restaurants. And it actually was one of the first, maybe not restaurants, more like wine bars. It was the very first wine bar in Riga, Latvia, in my city. And somehow I needed to study and learn more about wine, and I realized I really like it and it's really interesting. And this is how I ended up where I am. Yeah, with wine.
Yeah. I do always find it interesting because I feel like everyone has a different entry point. Was it that you enjoyed the actual drinking of wine? Did someone kind of inspire you with a pairing? Was it the complexity of wine? Like what was it that actually drew you in?
Well, it was not the alcohol for sure. I was your perfect girl who would not be drinking, and not be partying or anything. I was 18 years old at the time, and my friends who I started to work at the wine bar together, they only later told me that they thought that I was really boring and like a geek because after Friday night, they would come back on the Saturday at work and they would talk about all the parties they had. And I would be talking about books that I read. So I was not interested in the alcohol or the intoxicating part of the wine at first. It was actually the complexity that drew me in. It was, learning different grape varieties, understanding that they can express themselves so differently on various terroirs and soils and climates. And they can be named differently, amongst the winemaking regions and, countries. And yeah, it was really interesting. It was the complexity.
So that's cool because it was the complexity that drew me in too. I'm not going to pretend no, I definitely was also attracted to the fact that there was alcohol in it. I read books, but I also went out on Friday and Saturdays. But so I kind of got started at an Italian place. And, I realized looking back now that was probably the best way to get me hooked on it because of all the regions to start studying when you're new. Italy is endlessly fascinating. Any subregion has 1 billion contradictions and different grapes, and never felt like I got a hold of it even after 4 years of just digging into it because the rabbit hole goes all the way down.
Absolutely. And they're Italians, sometimes things happen only because it is that way and it has been that way and that's it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There's an author, he writes about food, nutrition and different terroirs, but from the reference point of usually steak or just additives, ingredients, Mark Schatzker. And he has this whole thing where he goes through Italy in one of his books when he's looking for the best steak in the world. And he's I started to think that actually Italy's not a country, but a collection of villages of people that are kind of similar all their food's kind of similar, but they all believe that it's vastly different, and they like are very, very convinced that their pasta is the pasta. Like, it's just like every
that's
single
absolutely
region's
true.
like that. What?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, what's your name for Trebbiano? Oh, okay, yeah, like
That's absolutely true. I mean, I regularly travel to Piemonte because I love Barolo and Barbresco. And when you go there, and God forbid, you know, any tourist would ask, you know, where is the pizza place? Where should I go, you know, get a pizza? Because Piemonte does not have pizza. That's not our food. Like they, you know, we associate
this
Italy
is
with
oxtail land. Come on, yes.
Yeah, exactly. And they are so strict with that. That's true.
Yeah. Yeah, and Italy's been on my head a lot because, you know, every week we do a different pre-shift for their servers, and I write them. And I hit Italy this time, and it's nothing like rocket science. It's like, you know, what's the grape in this wine on our list? And it's a Barbaresco. And like just making sure that they're sharp and can answer those questions quickly for the guest. But I finally, like halfway through the week, I was like, guys, I started in an Italian place. I've studied, like, while I was there, that's what I fell in love with studying. I studied Italian wine day after day for years, tasted only Italian wines, went to Italian tastings, and I'm like, I'm still confused. So, like, don't stress. Just, like, learn the basics. But, like, yeah, it's just, I don't know. I love Italy. I always will. So.
Yeah. The same here.
Complexity is what drew me into.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, you got your start with restaurants, but you have not stayed on the restaurant path. Kind of, how did you get out of restaurants? What are you doing now?
Well, so while I was working at restaurants, I also was starting to compete in competitions, in sommelier competitions. And you know, at some point down the road, I did okay, and I won one of the local sommelier championships. But I realized that I don't want to work on the floor and do some of that, which is part of the acting. I didn't want to do that acting anymore. That was one thing. And of course, working at restaurants, what we really have to understand, it is late night shifts. You know, when you,
it is,
especially when you have family,
can see the bags
and
in my eyes.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And when you have family, when you have friends who are not working in restaurants and you come home when they are already fallen asleep, you know, it disrupts somehow that, not somehow, but it disrupts that connection, or could disrupt it. And also getting older, I realized that I wanted to have like a proper daytime job. And I'm always been someone who wakes up really early. So for me personally, that worked better to have early mornings and study them, and then work, and then evenings off.
All right, I am sorry to interrupt. We will get right back to Agnes and Andrew, but I just wanted to take a moment and say, if you have not had a chance to follow the show, please do. It means the world to me, and it really does help us reach more people and get cooler people on, and it makes me happy. So why wouldn't you do it? All right, back to it. So we go. As we're talking over the internet on a Zoom call, we got cut off rudely when we were talking about your progression out of the restaurant. And so I heard up to when you said about the performance aspect of it. Then it kind of dropped off.
Okay. So basically, I was saying that restaurants means also, working in a restaurant also mean late night shifts.
That's right,
I think, yeah. And then at the, you know, when you have family, and it sometimes disrupts the connection with them. You know, you come back really late, you know, especially when it is those long evenings of Friday and Saturday, you know, sometimes it's after midnight, and if your friends and family have different work schedule when they don't work at restaurants, you know, they will be early up in the morning. And then I also said that for myself personally, I have always been the early bird. Yeah. And I wake up really early. This is my best time to study, to work. You know, I have the most energy during that period. And it just felt really natural for me to have that, you know, daytime for other things, work and, you know, meeting people and studying. Yeah. So it was also very, like, not very, but like, it was also a personal decision to not be on the stage in the restaurant anymore.
That is the one thing about restaurants that I think will eventually get me out of them. it's the morning thing. Cause I'm the same way where it's between like 7 a.m. and 11:30 is like when I feel the sharpest and the most energy. And like
Yeah.
you've woken up, you've had breakfast, you're like, let's go. And it's hard working. Like, I mean, even when I get out of the restaurant early, it's like 11:30, like, and
Hmm.
when I get out late, like it's like 1:30 and it's like, and that's not even a bar. It gets rough. Yeah.
Yeah. And of course, you can adjust, but if you can believe those sleep doctors that talk, over the internet a lot, they say that
Hmm.
once you're born an early bird, you're always an early bird. And the same goes for owls. If you're a nighttime person, then you're always a nighttime person. You can adjust a little bit to it, but you will always be more productive during, late evenings.
Yeah. Which I don't know how much I believe that. And like using myself as a counter example, I definitely, when I was in college, was a late person. Like I would stay up till 3 a.m. all the time. And I felt very good with that schedule. I mean, I was young and like, working in a bar, like you just like kind of live that lifestyle. And, maybe people change as they age too, though. Maybe like, you just get tired earlier or something like that. But like the more I moved it forward, the more I like slowly adjusted, but I never felt like I thrived in one or the other, just like both
Yeah.
seemed natural when I was doing them.
Yeah. Well, I guess you're right. I mean, the world belongs to the youth in a way. You can do it all. So,
Yeah.
of course, you have more energy in the morning, in the night, in the parties, in the studies, whatever. So that.
Yeah. Back in the day when I was made of rubber and sunshine and I could like, do an all-nighter and still go out for pizza and feel great. And like now it's like
Yeah.
if I get 10 minutes less sleep, I'm like, oh, the day is ruined.
Exactly.
So part of your journey that I was hoping we could kind of rehash too, because we talked about it before we got rudely interrupted, but WSET, I've always been interested and I've always thought it was interesting, the difference between Quartermaster Psalms, WSET path. And part of the reason that I've always thought it was interesting is I've looked into it a little bit, but I've never fully looked into it. And it does in some sense seem confusing. Like I don't know what I would do to start the WSET path even. Does that make sense?
Okay. Well, I don't know what I should do if I would want to start the Court Master of Sommelier path. So,
Sure.
so I don't, with that, I'm saying that I don't really know how that education works. I'm aware of it. I watched a lot of movies about it. They're very inspirational. But WSET for me personally, I told you I was, working actively on the floor in restaurants. And when I decided I did not want to continue that road, so that was the one thing, because WSET is more like, education, not as much as practical part. Like it is focusing on theoretical part, not as much on the practical. I would say almost none on the practical if you don't consider the tasting within it. And I think what it is really good at, because while I was preparing for the championships, the sommelier championships, I would be studying a little bit about Chile, a little bit about Argentina, and then Languedoc, I forgot about those appellations and, and Italy and Spain. And it was like, cloud of everything and nothing at the same time. And WSET, what it really did for me, for my brain, it just helped to put it all into order. And, this is viticulture, this is winemaking, this is the appellation, and these are the rules. This is European Union, this is how it works there, and it works differently once we're outside. And it gave me that structure, which I was lacking. And for me, that was essential. That was really, really important.
Sure. Yeah. And I do think that's probably the strongest thing that I've heard and seen from them because, we talked about this the other time that like CMS, it's just like, good luck, like essentially their instructions are learn and have fun and like come back when you're ready. It's like, okay, either terrifying or empowering, depending on who you ask. The reason I am confused about the WSET stuff is when I've looked, there have been like different levels of classes and it's like, it seems like you can take further levels without taking the earlier ones. I'm like, not even sure where I should begin. That's what because at CMS, it's very much like you can do nothing but intro first. And then like, once you've passed, you can do nothing but certified. Like, it's very much like you unlock the doors. Whereas like See,
Yeah, it's like
yeah,
a
WSET's like choose your
PlayStation.
own adventure. Yeah.
Yeah. You just I don't know, like it's like a game,
Mhm.
computer game. You just go and evolve, and unlock, these next levels and stuff. So I understand that.
Yeah.
But yeah, with WSET, at some point you cannot do that anymore. I think that you can skip stage one. I don't think they call it stage one. I think it's like WSET level one, and that you can skip. And for some, it might be good to skip because it's just waste of time and waste of money. And for that, I really respect WSET as an educational entity because they do not require for you to go through stage one only to get, extra cash flow for
The
them.
check mark.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah. But I think nowadays, and I might be mistaken because I did my diploma, like I think maybe 10 years ago. So, a lot of things have changed. But now I think you have to start at level 2. So this is you can skip level 1 if you feel comfortable, but you have to start at level 2. For me, it was different 10 years ago. I wrote them an email saying that, I've accomplished something. So could I start at level 3? And they said, yes, you can, but you have to pass the exam. If you pass the exam, you're good. You're good to go and start with level 3. If you fail, it's one time only attempt. If you fail, you go to level 2. And then, I had to pay like small fee for the exam. I passed it and I moved with level 3. Which also feels, kind of very honest in a way. They just want to make sure that you have the education required for the level 3 so you do not struggle. Yeah. So for me, it turned out good. Of course, if you overestimate your knowledge or your understanding in wine and you fail, it's, you have to pay double. It's not double, like, because the exam was really like not a lot of money. But you paid extra for the exam and then you have to pay for the level 2, studies.
Yeah.
But still.
It's like you paid for a practice test before you got the course kind of thing. Yeah. No, that is cool because I hadn't thought about that, the contrafactual of there are a lot of people that go through the intro course in the CMS who probably shouldn't. Like it's like a 95% pass rate or something because, like you have to have no exposure to the world of wine and not pay attention during the class because it's like they talk you through it for 2 days. You have a workbook. It's like if you've worked in a restaurant and you know the difference between a Chardonnay and Cab, you probably will pass. They have to make so much money on that, now that I think about it. And of course, I'm oversimplifying it. Like it's not that easy, but it is something like a 95% pass rate, which, it's people that have been interested enough to sign up and study for it. But still, like, there's a lot of people that could probably take a quick quiz and go on to level 2. And that's cool. That is interesting. Okay.
But I have heard that Court Master of Sommelier, the level 2, if I'm saying correctly, I don't know the tier system. I have heard that it is so much more difficult than the WSET level 2. It's like completely like once you like, wow, that's like the increase in knowledge that is required is so much greater.
No, it is like, I remember even from my level 1, a couple of the questions I was like, oh, like the hardest question I think on there was like, what wine style is here? And it's a map and it's pointing to Entre deux Mer. It's like, okay. Level 2, like all of a sudden you are doing the practice service for the Master Somm and opening the sparkling bottle, and they've got blind tasting, and the questions just like ratchet up a notch where it's like, oh, this is difficult. And it's the first time it starts sorting people out because people just fail. Yeah. Even one of the servers that works with me, because we've got a couple that have gone through it too in the last couple of years, he got everything but blind tasting, and he it wasn't even like a failure of ability. It's written and he didn't finish writing it in time, and they cut you off time wise. So he like passed everything, but if he'd been like a minute and a half faster sort of thing, like, but I mean, that's part of the test. And like,
I guess that's so sad.
Oh, he's going for it again. He's going to get it. We did a practice service actually yesterday. Wow. It seems like It's been a long time. And he did the best I've seen him do. So I'm like, you're gonna do good here. So
Yeah.
shout out Gabe. He'll probably be a certified som by the time this comes out. So you did mention the competition a little, but I thought we could dig into that because I think it's fascinating people that compete. Like, what drove you to compete?
Well, I think I told you, world belongs to the youth. So I was young and I wanted to prove myself. And I knew that Chablis is made from Chardonnay, and it was more than any of my friends I was studying, economy together, they knew nothing. And I was like, I know so much more. So I will go and study and I will go and compete. And of course, the level that is required when you're actually competing, it's completely different what I had in my mind. And I failed miserably. I think I answered maybe on my first attempt, maybe like one or two questions. I was just, browsing and reading them instead of answering. And once you fail so miserably, coming from a family where my both parents are into sports, I thought, okay, so now I have to, really do some studying and train. And, it was ups and downs. It was never like, okay, so this year I failed and next year I competed and I won. Because, of course, I was young and I told you at first, the alcohol was not like a nice thing. It was not something that drew me into wine. But, after a while, you realize that it is a nice side effect. And of course, a bit of partying and a bit of,
yes.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah. And going out with friends, when you're young, studying at home and saying to your friends, no, I'm not going to go out with you. It's not that common. At least it was not common with me. And of course, it took some time. And I think, at some point I decided, okay, now it's time. I want to prove myself and to be. And I think at that time also, none of the women had ever won Latvian Sommelier Championship. And I wanted to be the first one. So I made my decision and then I practiced and studied a lot and did it. So, yeah.
Yeah. No, that's super cool. And yeah, I don't think we talked about those last time. And I actually kind of went on a similar route when it came to competitions, but I got into wine kind of backwards. So I got really into bartending first. And then the wine was kind of a side quest that took over things eventually. But I thought, bars have a lot of competitions, like different drink competitions, and like there's always brand competitions going on. I was like, this is cool. I want to try this. And the first competition I ever entered, it was Don Q rum, and I got dead last. And not even like I didn't even get top 3 or something, but like literally last place. I cannot stress how much I messed up this drink, but anyways, it doesn't bear dwelling on it. And it was a big eye opening. It's like, oh, I do this and I do decently when I'm just doing my job, but like on a competition level, I got a lot of room to improve. And I thought it was fun, even though I did so poorly. I was like, I'm going to try this again and take it seriously. And there was a competition in Arizona called Last Singer Standing. And it's this big, you don't know the ingredients. They throw them at you last minute and you have to do all this stuff back to back. And actually our team practiced, and which sounds mind boggling, but something I probably should have done for the first contest too. We actually practiced a lot, different drills, and we ended up winning. And it was like, it's like,
congratulations.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah. But it is funny to go from last to first, but it taught me a lot. Cause it's like, the first time you put yourself out there, you get dead last, you either give up forever or it's like, okay, I need to take this seriously is the other response. I just think it's cool,
Oh, absolutely. And I love the story that you told, because there are so many people, when they come last or they just fell or whatever, they do something wrong and it crashes them and they cannot get back. But everyone fails. Every single person fails. Even the current ASI World Sommelier Champion, Raymond Thompson's, when he competed first time, when he realized that he could win, I think he finished in third. He was so stressed and so nervous. He couldn't, do the things he wanted to do on the stage. And instead of winning, he came on third. And I think after that, he learned so much, and he came back and he proved that actually it was his trophy after all. Mm-hmm. And I think it is what separates, in a way, maybe I sound a bit terrible, I don't know, winners from losers. It is not that you fail. It is that you, after failure, you get yourself back up and you go and do that.
Sure. Yeah. I'm thinking too, so kind of the origin story that I don't often go into of this podcast, funny enough, was when I took the advanced som test. And you do the blind tasting with the Master Soms, the 25 minutes, 6 wines that you see in the videos. And so I failed my first attempt at the advanced Som with the quartermaster Soms because I got so nervous when I was blind tasting. And I did not know how nervous I'd be. Even with all the practice, I realized I should have probably practiced doing it in front of people, not just by myself. And I fell apart near wine 5 because I just lost time. I got in my head. And I was like, okay, I'm going to do this in front of people. And if I can't, I'm going to film myself and watch it. And then I realized that was nerve-wracking too. I was like, why is this so nerve-wracking? And, I started going down that rabbit hole. And then I was like, I should probably talk to people and film it. Maybe I could do a podcast. And then all of a sudden, just a year later and all these episodes, I've lost a lot of those nerves, but it's just all because way back in the day I fell apart and I could have just given up or guess I won't get it or, something like that. But it was no, actually I'm going to see how can I work on this, and
that's so good. Yeah.
Deal with my nerves. Did you have a similar thing? Cause I thought it was interesting that you kind of wanted to leave the stage of service, but then also you have something where you're on stage called No Sediment and presenting yourself to people,
Yeah, no, I absolutely was super stressed when on a stage. And this was one of the reasons why I decided not to continue with competitions anymore. Because I think one of the first times I got in finals, and it is not only the jury members you have to perform on, it's also the general public comes and watches you. And I was so stressed. And I remember I went to the bar and I had 2 shots of grappa, and it was, I was still sober, and I was like, no way, I have to calm my nerves. And then I think after that, soon after, I quit. But No Sediment actually started because I started to study in the Institute of Masters of Wine. And I think last time when we spoke, I told you I'm very, very lazy person. I am the most...
That's right.
Yeah. I
the most accomplished lazy person we've ever met. Yes.
No, but I would play video games all day long. And I thought, okay, let's, make videos weekly. And that will keep you on your toes. You will have to deliver something for others because you promised. I'm trying to be good on my promises. But, and this is how it started. And I think last time I also told you that it started really geeky because I would be making videos, about alternative packaging or, different quirks, or whatever,
let's talk about
climate change.
Caluso or something.
Yeah. And no one watched that. And the moment when you made something, more clickbaity than that was it received more views or, more followers. And then and so in that way, No Sediment took another road than my studies. But originally it was made for me to study.
Well, the thin line between providing education the world needs and watch this Som taste 5 bottles of Pinot under $10 and shocking end of which one's best. And there is a thin line between all that stuff. It is funny too, because it's the geeky stuff. Yes, it doesn't get clicks, but in a lot of ways it is some of the things that people need, but you do, you kind of have to play the game. I think we said that too. There's a reason that most of my titles on the stuff I put out as question marks, because it kind of grabs attention. There's, 32 XYZs for XYZ. You learn these little things that people pick up on and really enjoy. And it's okay. Yeah. but you're still not blowing up a Lamborghini or anything, you know?
No.
The soul's still there. Yeah.
But I also try to be as honest as possible. This is my one and only goal. I guess, like, I really hate when people are being dishonest. If you are giving this wine, I don't know, high score, tell me why. If it is high quality, great. If it is because the winemaker is a great friend to you, it's also good. Let me know. Like, this is, you know, or maybe they hosted you and you had, you know, nice time in the pool. You can also tell me that. And I think that's important. But yeah, I try to be as, this is geeky or not, I always try to be as honest as possible. That's my aim in the No Sediment world. Yeah.
Well, I mean, you kind of started off when we were talking about WSET, describing it as more of a like teaching, more focused on teaching and kind of sharing the knowledge versus the stage performance. It's probably just an evolution of that, you know. It's just finding ways to captivate people and share what you know, bring them along for the ride.
I mean, yes, in a way that's true. But we also have to, probably me, myself, I have to realize that sometimes people don't want to know or learn anything new. You know, they're good where they are. And that's huge issue for myself, because I am someone who also all the time wants to learn something new. Like, is that really true? Someone told me at work, you know, no, like this wine is actually that and this and that. And I was like, I don't believe you. I have to check it. I check it. No, you're right. You know, for me, this is the drive. But some things that I find interesting or new in studies that proves things. I just recently made a video about the oak, and it is so interesting that actually the longer you age wine in oak, the latest studies show that the less oak it shows on the nose and flavors, because somehow it reintegrates, you know, or allows wine to get back on its feet. And sometimes people just don't care about it.
Yeah. No, that is super cool. I did not see that. I will watch that after this. Yeah.
I don't think I mentioned that, though. I thought like that would be way too controversial for some. But yeah.
No, that's super cool. And, you know, I don't know if you've found this to be true from just kind of putting yourself out there, but even if people don't respond to even some of those things, like, I found that my ability to remember and hold on to information, just knowing that I'm going to share it or explore it with another person, has like exponentially exploded my ability to recall things. Like in and of itself, even if I recorded these conversations and published them and not a single person listened, the amount that I've learned from doing it seems to be like incredibly increased. Like, if I know this, I would have done this when I was like 21, because it's like, you have somewhere to hang these ideas. They're not just like rote memorization. It's like integrating it into life and bringing it alive in yourself. It's like, yeah.
You're so right about that. I think one of the main reasons I actually started to do those video interviews myself was because I would learn the best or memorize the best once I discussed some topics with others. And it is also interesting that we currently, in our age, we hate fighting or discussion. You know, you have to agree with everything. But sometimes it is really true that the honest or the truth is, you know, in the middle, or the truth has many shapes. And when you discuss, when you even fight, you know, kind fighting, not necessarily yelling and screaming, but when you fight about certain things, you learn so much more. You know, you hear the other side of the, you know, the argument of the other side. And if you are smart enough, it tickles your brain and you start to think, okay, what should I answer? Not necessarily, you know, you're stupid, you don't understand things, but like, okay, how can I argue against it? You know, what has science said? And through all these discussions, this is how I memorize the best. And this is also very important for my studies, because they do not expect me to know one side only. When they ask a question, they will expect that I present both sides or three sides, you know, or yeah.
Which you can always find in wine. Yeah. I wonder how much of that mentality actually like is inborn, or how much have you picked up from just being so focused on the world of wine and alcoholic beverages. Because I feel like wine is one of those things where it doesn't matter what topic you're talking about, you can always find a counterexample. Like anything you touch on, there's like even the stupidest thing that popped in my head just now, like rosé. Rosé is usually not blended red and white. It's like, that's pretty true, but if you go to the most expensive rosé in the world, the champagne, it is. Like any like general thesis, you can always find a counterexample. So you like almost have to have like in quantum mechanics where it's like superpositions where it's two states at once, like you have to have a mental superposition for all wine things, because it's like, yes, but
it depends. Always, it depends.
it depends. And I drive people crazy at the restaurant by saying that, but it's like, people ask me like questions like, is Sauvignon Blanc fruity? It's like, man, like that is a loaded question that could, like, we could talk for an hour. Like, but I mean, everyone's always looking for the quick answer because, the guest sometimes doesn't want to hear the full, like, oh, well, in Sancerre, and well, also there's New Zealand. Like, it's just like, oh, yeah, it's fruity. We just like leave it.
Yeah.
Cool. How long till you complete your studies, if plans go well?
I don't know. It's actually quite painful question, because I have invested a lot of time already, years, and it is not going as I planned or as I wanted to. Up until now, whenever I studied something, whenever I put an effort in, I would always finish. And we talked about the Sommelier Championship. You put an effort in it, you practice, you achieve what you wanted to. With Institute of Masters of Wine, it is not the case. You can study as much as you can and invest so much time, so much finances and travels and interviews and I don't know, whatever. And you just don't get it. So we'll see what happens. And it is in a week, the exam. So really? Yeah.
Good luck. My God. Yeah. That is the thing with these tests and certifications though. Like there is a value in having such a high standard, but sometimes you put your best effort and you just don't pass. I'm there. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, so many great people that I know have studied, like people who admire and who know wine. Wow. Like I would want to know wine as much as they do and understand as much as they do. And they haven't passed. So it is not necessarily always about the knowledge. It's also how you communicate what you know. And how fast and effective you can be in that way as well. So it's all those things together. It is like, that balance. And now it's under a question whether or not I have the ability. We'll see, sooner or later.
Well, I'm rooting for you. I think you have something that is very important when it comes to taking tests. At least you're presenting it, where there are people that freak out with tests and like stress themselves out. And you at least seem calm. I would have not guessed that it was coming in a week. So at least there's that. You're not fighting against yourself. And, there is also an element of luck in tests. And like people don't like talking about it, but like the first time I got into the advanced, I shouldn't have. Like, and I know that looking back, but that test happened to be very like heavy in, it was Spain and Italy, and that's where I'm strong. And so like, I technically I passed the theory, but I probably shouldn't have paid for that whole test and failed horribly, but so it goes, luck happens. So.
No, I will tell you, don't ever say that. If you passed, you passed. That's first thing. But I will agree with you that luck plays a very serious role in it. Like last year when I was sitting the exam, I had a question about Brettanomyces, and one of the many questions over the 4 days. And I mean, for me, that was the question. I was laughing with my friends. Like, I read about Brettanomyces for fun. For me, even if I wouldn't be studying, I would be reading about Brett. It's so interesting and exciting for me. So, of course, it more and understand, this yeast and its expression in wine, because it just excites you and it interests you. And that was the question for me when I opened, the envelope on the day 2, and I saw that amongst the 5 questions I had, one of them was on bread. I was like, oh, that's so nice. That's like for me. Yes, thank you. So luck plays a great part in this, of course.
Yeah, that is funny. I'd probably do well with the Brett question too. What is the test like since you've sat for it? Like, what all happens?
So the stage 2, which I am sitting right now or going to sit, is 4-day event. So, and it starts with paper 1 in which is viticulture theory. So you write 3 essays on paper 1, viticulture, and then there is paper 1, 12 wine tasting. No, it's actually the other way. So you start with 12 wines, paper 1, tasting, and then you move to 3 essays. The next day is paper 2, which is vinification, and paper 2 in wine tasting is all reds, or usually are reds. Day 3 is rest of the wines, so you can have sparkling pinks, fortified. You can have also all the still wines, whatever. And then paper 3 is like the technical part of the wine bottling, QC, QA, I don't know, bulk shipping, all these like faults and stuff. This is where I got my Brettanomyces question, I think. Yes. And then the day 4 is just all about essays. I think you write 5 essays during that day. Paper 4 is business. And paper 5 is contemporary questions.
Weird. Yeah. It's cool. It's cool, but I'm just like, I said weird because I'm just so used, like it's like a fish in water. I don't see the water anymore. I'm so used to the idea of it being out loud in person in a restaurant setting that I'm just like, it's cool, but almost unsettling. I'm like, I think I would do well, but I'm like, I don't know. It's very cool. It's fascinating, especially seeing how the other side lives. I heard of MS once joke that MW stands for mostly rights, and I think just the amount of essays that you all do, that's 4 days worth, is wild.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that is crazy. You write, I have to do a calculation like 3, 3, 2, and 5 essays. So how much that is? 6, 8 plus 5. That's 13 essays in 4 days. No, something like that.
Something crazy like that. When you inevitably pass, because I'm sure you will, what is the goal? Like, is this a stepping stone on a way to something in the future? Or?
I told you I have family, and my both parents are in sports, and they want to prove themselves. So this is where I was born. Like, I want to prove myself. And when someone tells you that like MW, the Master of Wine, is one of the hardest exams you have to do, it's like, okay, I have to try that for myself. Sure. Yeah. But
why ask a champion why they want to be a champion, right?
Yeah, something drives you and you want to prove yourself. Now, of course, now that once I've tasted what it is like and how intense it can be and how financially difficult it can also be, you of course understand that, or you ask yourself how much longer I could continue this way.
Well, we'll see. I'm hopeful for you. How long does it take to hear? I'm guessing it takes a while to grade the essays.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It will take like extra 3 months. I think after 3 months, I will know the result.
That is one point in favor of the Quartermaster Somms. Next day whether or not you passed or failed. 3 months is a lot. I'll put it on my calendar. Check back in with you.
Yeah. No, actually, some of my friends keep telling me, that's not right. They should tell you immediately. But in a way, it is in the beginning of summer. When we are in this hemisphere. And, you do the exam, you sit the exam, and then you don't stress all summer. You've done it. You just forget about it. You go outside, you play your video games, and you just enjoy the summer. And then once, the September hits, then you can start to expect your results. But at least your summer was not ruined.
Yeah. If you found out the next day, it'd be like, man. Although you could have a great summer too.
Shout out, I don't know, tell about. So that's my number one thing. That's actually I think one of the main things that I work on. And then Instagram also works, which it is actually Blanc de Noir, if I'm not mistaken.
Blanc de Noir is your handle,
Yes.
which is pretty impressive. Not gonna lie.
Without any numbers, because when I joined Instagram, I was trying to find something wine related years ago.
That's when I knew that you were legit, and I was like, oh, okay, Blanc de Noir, let's do it. No. From the bottom of my heart, thank you. I think even if you do not get the MW, I think that you are probably the most patient and kind Som I've ever met. And you put up with all of my BS and all of my shortcomings and the internet failing and not recording, and you are a fantastic person. And so I want to say thanks for coming on. It was really a pleasure.
Thank you for inviting me. I mean, the pleasure was mine. It was so interesting. Thank you.
Thank you for listening. That is today's episode. Now, if you have not taken a moment to check out our website, please do. It's servesyouRightPod.com. We have past episodes and all sorts of other things there. If you want to get in touch with me, that's the place to do it. I do appreciate that you've given me your most valuable asset, your time and attention. So thank you for listening, and stay tuned. We have some really cool guests coming up. I would hate it if you missed it. Cheers.